let's be real. We've talked about all that we want to basically get out. I've vented my opinions. We talked about strategy, whether or not PlayStation's strategy is this or Xbox's strategy is that. But at the end of the day, at the heart of it, we're all gamers. And one question at the end of all of this is still going to be at the back of our minds. Where are the games? It's a very good and it's a very valid question. If you bought an ecosystem, like I got a gaming PC to make it my main platform of choice. There are games everywhere. There are games there, and PC is not built on the proposition of wanting to sell you exclusives or whatever it is and all that stuff. However, console for the last few years or at least decades had positioned itself that when you buy into it, you have access to, in quote, all these games. But right now, we're seeing a huge disparity in this particular conversation. The third-party games, number one, are dominating. That's the disparity that we're seeing. We're also seeing another disparity. One of these consoles is not providing games like you would expect or it has promised, or it's not providing as many games like its competitor. If we were to go game for game, dollar for dollar, release for release, window saturation for window saturation, PlayStation really does have no games to offer as we're speaking right now in this particular timeline. In fact, for the entire PlayStation generation, it's been actually very scanty because a lot of those games, they either came on the back of, say, the PS4 rolling into the PS5 generation. I can't really, dog on that, to be honest. But what happened in 2023 and 2024? When you ask a question and say, where are these games that people have been expecting all this while in terms of what you would call the PlayStation first party titles that, they had pretty much positioned themselves to deliver to you? Okay, let's just leave that alone. Let's just say, okay, 2023, 2024. And I'm not talking about the third party exclusives because those games are going to eventually find themselves everywhere. For someone like me as a PC player, if you were to ever tell me that, oh, maybe a PlayStation console would appeal to me or I would probably, dust mine off, I'd ask you why. Because I know that those games are going to be coming my way. Another thing too, on another question is there a roadmap to actually get these games from PlayStation at some point? Because when they did the State of Play, they showed a lot of third-party games, and everyone is still probably waiting to see where their first-party lineup is going to be going. Add to that, they had canceled a significant number of games as we were rolling into the new year, close to that. And ladies and gentlemen, they've recently delayed another one. Well, let me state that with more precision. It is being reported that Fairgame has been internally delayed. Okay, Jeff Grubb just recently came out and has talked about this, and now it's being cited all over the place. There are conversations about it. But again, in all fairness, they never gave any release date in a sense. So check this out. Sony has no shortage of titles on the PlayStation 5. Okay. Many of which are exclusives and critically acclaimed. Okay. That statement is actually zero because these games are on Xbox. We just talked about that. Shortage of titles on PS5. You mean first party or third party? First party, there's a shortage. Third party, it's everywhere. Even with an already impressive roster of games available, Sony is looking toward the future and has multiple projects under different studios. Okay. I mean, are you going to tell us about Fairgame being potentially delayed, or are you going to pat it softly? With the recent State of Play, fans who were able to see many of these, gaining more information, getting a look at in-depth gameplay, and receiving release dates in some cases of third-party games. However, one title was notably absent, leaving many fans wondering what was going on with it. The title was Haven Studios' Fairgame, a competitive multiplayer heist game that would be a new IP and the studio's first project. Fairgame was first announced in 2023, but not much has been said or shown about the game since then. Many expected to see it at the recent PlayStation State of Play, which turned out not to be the case. It's led many to believe it was delayed or canceled. No official word has been given, by industry veteran Jeff Grubb and co-host Mike spoke about Sony's State of Play On episode 385, blah, 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 Fairgames was brought up specifically about the absence during State of Play. Jeff Grubb had this to say. No Fair Games this year. Fair Games, as far as I'm aware, has been pushed to 2026, Grubb said. If this is the case, it points to either some internal issues regarding development or maybe Fair Games has expanded beyond the initial scope, simply needs more time. Sony may have also held on to the game for other reasons, such as slated it for a less busy release. What's busy about the release so far? This is comicbook.com. This might be written by, I don't know, maybe they think that there's some PlayStation games that are coming. If anybody has a problem on when to release their games to make sure it's not too busy, it's the guys on the other side. I mean, you know what I mean? But again, I don't want to delve deep into whether or not the motives of this writer is one thing or the other. I'm just asking a fair question. Because this was a subject of a lot of the gaming conversation in the last few years as to where the games are. Let's keep reading, though. I mean, it's very interesting. It says, many studios are actively avoiding launching games around the release of Grand Theft Auto 6, and Fair Games may be one of those affected. This is now in the territory of, okay, I want to cover for Sony's lack of game releases at a good cadence. It's now GTA 5's fault. For a game that's been shown since 2023, what is GTA 6 going to do here? I know it's going to body them, but still, though. So 2026, okay. When they just canceled 10 other games? Did they say anything about cancellation of games here? Or they were talking about the plethora of games that are already available? I don't know. All right. From the trailer, it looked like there will be specific characters, each with different abilities. Aside from the trailer, Fair Games has gone dark. While no release date has been given, it is odd that the title has been silent since 2023, which wouldn't make a 2026 release out of the question. Regardless, Fair Games is slated for PlayStation 5, and PC release, sharing a similar launch as Sony's other multiplayer-focused games, such as Helldivers and Concord. Let's jump hope it fares better than the latter, which was ultimately canceled shortly after release. Did he say it fares better? Is that a pun? And so something is going on internally at the Sony house of Sony. We don't know what it is, but in terms of their first-party games, they really seem to have a very strange, I don't know what it is, concept right now of what it means to actually launch a game first-party. Are they going back to smaller titles? Are they going back to single-player titles, which are somewhat expensive? I don't know. But by and large, like I said, one of the main things that every gamer who's invested into their ecosystem should be asking or is asking is where are the games? And there's one, of these console ecosystems, or I guess I would say two of them, that have no reason to ask these questions. Nintendo users have no reason to ask where Nintendo games are. They know they're going to be getting a Mario. They know there's a vault of Mario games that are just sitting in Nintendo's HQ, and anytime that they need money, they'll launch one and sell 10 million copies before launch, right? But in the case of Xbox is actually delivering a lot of games. A lot. I think these guys are ready to actually come in and deliver games. It's insane. You know what I mean, guys? It's just pure insanity. But I digress. Talk to me in the comment section. Appreciate you guys this time and audience. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.